Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hierology's webinar. I'm going to give it a second to let everyone join the room, and then we'll get started. But appreciate you joining us on first Tuesday of November. Great. Looks to be we've got a quorum here, so I'll get us started. Again, welcome everyone to Hierology's webinar, End the Year Strong, Start the Next Smarter, Hiring Tips for You. It's Tuesday, November 4th. We appreciate you joining us for your lunch hour. For those who, I would like to get this question out of the way ahead of time, we will be sending out the recording of this meeting after the fact, so don't you fret, you will get access to these slides and this conversation. But without further ado, let me get us started. Some housekeeping. If you want to talk with other attendees, feel free to use the chat. I love the community of businesses that we get to work with here at Hierology. And so this session is as much about you all learning from each other as it is getting to hear what's to come and what's already launched at Hierology. It is being recorded, as I mentioned, will be sent out. And then if you have any questions, please use the Q&A. I'm going to do my best to save us time at the end to answer any questions that you may have, or even try to address some as we go throughout. So please, please, please feel free to put those in. And so with that, I'll introduce you to our presenters. You have myself, Kristen Shantz, the VP of Marketing here at Hierology. Excited again to be with Adam Robinson, our CEO and founder, and Jana Sermily, our Chief Product and Technology Officer. The three of us are going to try to have a robust conversation and allow for discussion with all of you about both what has already been launched by Hierology, what we're seeing as a result of that, and then what's to come, and really get you excited about where you can make smarter hiring decisions going into 2026. Our agenda for today is we're going to go through some market conditions. It wouldn't be a Hierology webinar if we didn't give you our perspective on what we're seeing in the job market. It is a crazy time out there. We want to make sure you have line of sight into what's going on this quarter and then going into next year. We'll then kind of break it down by solution sets. How can you better attract and source what is available within the Hierology system, what's to come? How do you build that pipeline of talent through Hierology? Then how do you engage and evaluate them? How do you communicate with those candidates? How do you make sure you're vetting them and making the right choices? And then how do you, vet that choice? How do you make decisions, run better background checks, really put them on your payroll, manage and optimize that system? And then ultimately, are you driving the results that you hope to achieve and making improvements based on that? Should be a robust conversation, but without further ado, let me turn it over to our CEO and founder, Adam Robinson, and let him give you his perspective and our perspective on what's going on in the job market. Welcome, Adam.
Yeah, thanks, Kristen. Welcome to everybody here for our Q4 product webinar. I'd like to start these discussions with the macro view of employment in the United States, just to set the context, because that context is so germane to what you're all going through and trying to fill open seats in your organizations. And so, everything we do is and build for you is rooted in our understanding of these labor markets. So let's start with the biggest possible picture here in the United States, and that's our the long run unemployment rate and trending here. Now we're in a period where there's a little bit of a black box on data with the shutdown, and so there's been a gap with BLS data. But what we're seeing in our own data is we're trending with your own data that we're looking at, we're trending close to the unemployment statistics that we will eventually see coming out of the Fed here. And so today, I think the thing to remember is that we are operating at unemployment levels that basically match the lowest unemployment we've had over the last 70 years. I mean, we are below the long run average here. And what that, of course, means is quality applicants are as hard to find as they've ever been. As we'll talk in a couple of slides, the number of applicants are going up, but the amount of quality for your open roles that's available to you is still very, very challenged. And so what's going to be interesting to watch, and I'll comment on this in a slide, is how skilled labor, are in our industries, what we're looking for, skilled hourly labor by and large versus knowledge work or traditional white collar work, just seeing if these unemployment rates start to diverge more sharply or change as we see technology and AI disruption hit. Is that myth or is that reality? Right now you've seen the headlines and it certainly gets clicks. Um, Amazon, UPS, Target, other major employers have all recently announced significant layoffs. Many of these, it can be noted, have been tied to shifts in automation and potentially AI implementation as companies adopt new technologies and streamline operations. But I want to remind everyone that most of these companies, in particular Amazon, have nearly doubled their workforce since 2019. So, it was very in vogue for these, large scale technology players that grab these headlines to hire every available human being with a skill set who could fog a mirror coming out of COVID. And these employee ranks really swelled. If you remember just how acute the shortage of available properly priced talent was in 2021, you just couldn't match offers coming out of these employers. They were hiring anyone who was available. And I tend to see this more of a normalization toward normal, toward a more stable employee count going forward. In my view, based on what we're seeing on our own analytics, this has less to do with AI and more to do with right sizing revenue per employee to a more historic trend. The media likes to run with this as an AI story, and it very well could be that as the story in the coming years. But for most of these employers, they're just getting employee counts back to a reasonable percent of revenue here. That's my hot take. You may disagree. But what this means for the job market is pretty clear. There are more candidates than ever actively looking for opportunities. And for employers, this creates both a challenge and an opportunity. So you need a way to quickly surface and hire talent before someone else does. Quality is not necessarily going up, volume's going up. And so if you've heard me talk, in the past, I'm always talking about, step one being understand what kind of labor market you're in. When you're in a labor market, as we have been over the last 3 years, where the supply of talent doesn't match demand, what you really need is are tools that produce more applicants. But when the script flips and you've got supply exceeding demand, you need tools that help you with automation and time savings and quickly servicing quality. I believe we are in the process of shifting back to a market where the availability, in terms of just applicant numbers, far outstrip the demand for employment in this country. And so, for our industries, where uh, we will be reliant on human beings doing work for the next 10 plus years at a minimum. That is our opportunity here as employers. So at Hierology, we of course focus on industries where human skills matter most, skilled industry specific talent. And while AI can automate certain tasks in our organization, and I know everyone here on the call is being impacted positively in their operation by the use of AI tooling, and that's great. And while it can automate and help, it can't replace the critical work our employees do every day. The front desk associate who's greeting guests on the way in, the caregiver providing critical care to seniors. Those roles are here to stay. And dare I say, the industries we serve, I firmly believe, present a real opportunity to really, right now, our opportunity is to sell the stability of employment that is the reality of our industries. AI is not going to change the sheets on a bed in a hotel. AI is not going to replace phlebotomists, right? It's just not going to happen. AI is not going to change the oil in a vehicle. Maybe someday we have robots doing that, but that someday is way down the road here. So we're serving industries where jobs require hands-on expertise, judgment, and interpersonal skills. Those roles and skills aren't going away anytime soon. In fact, we have a real lack of supply for that type of talent in this country. And so there is a clear distinction in the labor market today. Some tasks may be automated, but the jobs themselves are human, and they need the right people to thrive. So when we dig into our own applicant data and look at what's really going on under the covers, Kristen, we go to the next slide. Here we go. In our recent applicant study, we found that 40% of applicants to our customers' open roles are transitioning from another career. So with all the recent layoffs and the potential impact of automation, people are not hesitant to explore new opportunities right now. That's a fact. We have had a calcified job market for the last several years. I think we're going to see that change. I think we're going to see a lot of opportunity, excuse me, in our industries to make our case to the segments of the workforce where job security is uncertain due to automation and AI, right? So 40% of applicants are transitioning from another career or another industry. What does that mean? It means making the case for our markets as a great place to build a career has never been more available to us. Right. Additionally, 36% of candidates, when they apply to a job, because it is so easy with technology to fire your application to as many employers as you possibly can, they're applying to, on average, over 30 jobs over a 6-month period, which is double what it was a year ago. So this shows that job seekers are casting a wide net because they have to, which makes it even more important for your job posting to stand out and for your technology to enable you to process and find that quality as quickly as possible. Now, as you well know, in our markets, vacancies are very, very expensive, and the impact adds up very, very quickly. So we pick some roles here just for example. For an automotive technician, one day of vacancy costs a dealership around $2,000. You think about, all of the repair orders that aren't done and all the parts that aren't sold. It's on average about $2,000 at the median. So going 7 days without a person in an open bay will cost the dealership about $14,000 in revenue opportunity. For a certified nursing assistant, a single day of vacancy costs about $600 in billable service, which adds up to $4,200 for a week. Even for a housekeeper, a day without coverage can cost around $300, totaling over $2,100 for a week. Now, you can, analyze your own data. You may be a little under, you may be a little over, but what's indisputable is that open revenue producing seats cost money, and that doesn't show up in your reporting, right? You don't have a cost of vacancy reporting by and large anywhere in your organization, right? And that's what we're helping you figure out. These numbers show that unfilled positions aren't just gaps; they're real costs, right? And excuse me, not being able to manage your hiring operation like the core and critical function that it is, strategic area of focus for your business that it should be, is really costing you opportunity and lost revenue. So minimizing vacancies is critical. Minimizing that cost of vacancy is the outcome, not just to keep your team running smoothly, but it also protects your bottom line. And I should say, unfilled positions put pressure on the headcount you do have. So having unfilled roles makes everyone's job harder. Not only is it expensive, but it leads to burnout and higher turnover in the folks that are showing up every day. So this is a problem. I know I'm speaking to the choir, but this is the problem set that John and team are going right at. And so let me turn things over to John to tell you exactly what we're doing and have planned.
Great. Hi, John. Well, I'm going to let John come up and talk about, thanks, Adam. There's lots of great perspective here. Talk a little bit about what we're seeing to drive top of funnel improvement for dealers, for all of our customers, looking at what we can do around attracting the right talent, giving you the tools to source that right talent. So, John, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the team's already put in place this year, and some best practices we're hearing from our markets.
All right. Thanks, Kristen. Thanks, Adam. Hey, everybody. It's nice to be here and talking about all the features that HireRology has brought to the market. So we're talking about attract and source, and a couple of items we brought this year that we want to make sure you are aware of. First is QR code and flyer generator. This is one of those sources of applicants that gets underused. So think about putting a flyer, at your location, or job career fairs, making it really easy for someone to apply. Now, what we have found with QR code and flyer generation, first of all, you can brand it to your brand. So whatever your brand looks like, you can really customize this to look exactly the way you want with the integrations and how we've built it. But what we have found is that folks applying this way convert at some of the very highest rates of all sources. And you think about it, it makes sense. Someone can blast job boards and apply to many, 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 many positions. When they come into your location or they're at a career fair and they apply with your, with your QR codes, it means they're interested in working for your location, and it's going to be a really high quality applicant. So this is just one of those sources, whether you're in a location that is more remote and you struggle to get applicants, it's that one person walking in that maybe wasn't even thinking about a job that then passes it along to someone else. If you're in a spot where you're getting tons of applicants, sometimes you can just zero down, did we get any QR code applicants? Because that person was on site or we've dealt with them directly. And generally ends up being that much higher of a quality applicant source. Next, moving on to Indeed, and we're going to talk about a little bit more about Indeed on the next slide as well, but Indeed recurring sponsorships. So a lot of you have evergreen jobs or jobs with seat counts, and you don't want to just sponsor one-off. You want to recurringly sponsor. You want to make sure you get steady flow of traffic, of applicant traffic to jobs, and not have to worry about it, losing traction over time. And so now you don't have to leave the Hireology platform. Right from within the platform, you can set up recurring Indeed sponsorships. Let's go next slide. And continuing on with Indeed, a couple of things for folks to understand about the way Indeed works and how you can get the most out of Indeed through Hireology. So the first interesting point is that when you're doing things in Hireology, we're sending that information back to Indeed. And there's a couple of things that they're doing with it that you may not be aware of. The first is when we send all that information back to them, and so the more you do on platform, the more they're going to know. First is they're going to send you a higher quality applicant. They've got technology where they understand what is and isn't working for your jobs, and they're going to learn you and what type of applicants you're looking for. So they've got that kind of tech where if you're hitting the hire button, if you're scheduling interviews, if you're doing all that work, they know how to send you applicants that are going to more likely to be successful for your positions. Second, again, in your industries, you've got jobs that you just leave open, evergreen jobs, seat jobs. Remember that Indeed's, they really work for the applicant. They want to help applicants find jobs. Now, the way they do that is they want to put the jobs that are most likely to be a nice position for that applicant at the top of the list. So if we think about evergreen jobs or seat jobs, one of the things that Indeed is looking at is whether or not there's any activity on the job. So how does Indeed know there's activity? Well, in Hireology, if you are reviewing people, contacting people, scheduling interviews, making offers, hitting the hiring button, they're going to see that this job is still active and is still a really good landing spot for candidates. So if you see your jobs starting to wane and get less traffic, make sure you're taking actions on the applicants in our system, and we're going to let Indeed know, hey, this job is still very much alive and is the kind of job that you want to send applicants toward because they have a good opportunity to find a position with your company.
Awesome. Thanks, John. So the marketer in me wants to summarize kind of what you just said, but my favorite things is one, with the QR code flyer generator, we've just made it easier to take and harness the power that is QR codes that came out of COVID and made it so that you don't lose visibility. There are millions of softwares out there that could probably create a flyer for you. You could use Canva, but Hireology's built it into this system, and now you can track it. You can know what applicants are coming from there. Are you following up? It lives in your insights next to everything you see within Indeed. And then Indeed, being able to understand, hey, if you're struggling to hire quality applicants, as Adam talked about before, where do you need to boost? How can you manage that spend? How can you do that within system? And then ultimately, the biggest headline is use it or lose it. So if you're paying attention, if you're reviewing your applicants, paying attention to those candidates, that data through our platinum partnership with Indeed goes back to Indeed and helps it make smarter and make sure that those jobs have visibility. And so there's a lot of things in place now within Hireology system that one, make it easier for your team to source the right type of candidates and make sure that you're staying on top of it. So lots of great things to build that talent pipeline coming out of John's org, and excited about where all of you can take this going into 2026. With that, I'm then going to kind of take it, you build your talent pipeline, and then it's really about how do you make sure you're communicating with them fast enough, and you're evaluating that talent. So I'll turn it back over to Adam and let him talk a little bit about some enhancements that are actually hot off the presses this quarter, relative to our interview scheduler. Adam.
Yeah, this one, for those of you that have been with us for a while, you've known Hireology's had interview scheduling platform for a while. We put a substantial amount of time and investment to making this feature even more automated and deliver even higher efficiency gains in this process. Because as you well know, 80% of the time in recruiting labor is spent in coordination and administrative tasks. We're moving folks from one step to another. And there is no greater pain point in your industry from the recruiting side than getting someone scheduled for an interview with multiple team members and to do it in an automated fashion. And to keep candidates and schedule changes up to date, that all takes a lot of time. And so that's why our new automated interview scheduler helps you spend less time on these logistics and more face time with applicants. So it will automatically offer interview slots to candidates who meet your pre-screen criteria. So it's automation based on likely fit, reduces that back and forth. It speeds up your time to hire, which goes right at that revenue opportunity cost we talked about earlier. And I think even more importantly, it gives candidates a smooth and professional scheduling experience. Because when we talk with applicants, right, your customer, if you will, from the recruiting side, their biggest pet peeve is no one gets back to me, or it takes too long to schedule interviews. Well, what we know from our data is that 67% of the time, the first to schedule an interview gets the hire. Right. So we've got to be first to market. We just have to be. And so we're helping you do that all directly in Hireology with no third-party scheduling tools needed. John, back to you to talk about some exciting AI roadmap and shortlisting that we're doing.
Great. Thanks, Adam. Okay, AI shortlisting. So for those of you who are getting tons of applicants, how do you wade through all those applicants quickly? And how can AI help? So this is something we're getting asked for a lot by the market, and it's something we're going to deliver on. We are currently in our design phase and thinking a lot about what does it mean to use AI to sort people. We all know, there's legalities and the EOC concerns. How do you do this well? How do you do it in a way in which AI is not hiring the same 4 people for all of us? It's doing the work that we would do anyway, but in a very fair way. So think about, I'm sure some of you have had this situation where you get 100 people apply or 200. And invariably what happens is you'll review the first 10, 15, maybe 20 applications and pick somebody and kind of go, right? But how do you know you got the best of that group? This is where AI can help. What is it that you as a human being would open those documents and look for, and have AI do the things that you would look for? Not eliminate people, not take them off, but highlight whether they have the certifications, the experience that you're looking for, and bring that to the fore in a way in which you can consume very easily. So this is all about speed. It's about scaling. It's about making sure you're fair and hiring the people that are the most qualified for your positions. So it's going to do a couple of things when we do it really well. It's going to make sure that you get through all the people you need to get through. And it's going to make sure the most qualified people are getting an opportunity to meet with your staff and interview for the position. So We want to automate all the processes that are mundane, are routine, bringing that information forward. But ultimately, the humans are still the ones making the decisions about who is going to be declined and who ultimately will be hired.
Very exciting time. And this is my plug. There'll be a plug at the end as well. But if you are part of our product backstage pass and want to be part, as John said, we're in that heavy design phase, and there's a lot of exciting conversations happening. Actually, John's entire team is in this week talking about what this looks like. But really exciting time of looking at how can we speed things up, both in interview, how we schedule the interview, and then how do we optimize your time when you are getting a flurry of applicants in the market. Moving on to our next section, we've had a lot going on to really make sure that the platform helps you better make decisions and manage the hiring process. And so, Adam, why don't you talk a little bit? We had a big change at the start of the year and launched a big product at our biggest conference in January. So maybe you can talk a little bit about what happened in our UX updates and Action Center this year.
Yeah, thanks, Kristen. So this year we focused on making Hierology easier and faster to use, right? Full stop. For most of you who are on a centralized recruiting team trying to hire across multiple locations, you're trying to do it all. You're trying to chase down managers, right? It's the manager that says they have no applicants, but you look in the system and they've got 60 people they haven't looked at. How do you nail that stuff down quicker without having to search for it? We've done a lot of work this year on that. And so a couple of UX updates and features supported that. The first thing we did is change the way you navigate Hierology. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but the most important thing to know, particularly for those of you who are managing multiple, scaled multi-location operations, is navigating between locations without losing context. Global search across all of your locations and your jobs page. All of that has been, delivered, since second quarter to help you find what you need quickly and stay focused on hiring. So we're really thinking about your time to get to what you're looking for and trying to reduce that as much as possible. And on that front, this year we released our Action Center. And so this gives you a single centralized hub to streamline hiring and stay on top of every role. Think of it this way. It is where you tell the system to keep you posted on where you need to be spending your time. So instead of having to hunt through reports and find out where problems are, Action Center proactively surfaces areas where you need to take action. So, hey, where am I getting low applicant flow? Take some automated action. Which managers aren't reviewing applicants? Let's ping them and let me know right away. Which locations are doing well? Which locations aren't? How do I, as the leader of talent acquisition, HR, or recruiting, the recruiter in the seat, leverage my time most effectively? If you haven't dug into Action Center yet, I encourage you to do that. It's going to give you a lot of leverage on your time. And so, with all of these releases, you can monitor activity across locations in real time, spot and fix bottlenecks faster and applicant flow, collaborate directly with your team, especially just shrinking cycle times and taking your time out of the process. It's about taking quick action on job-related issues all from one place. That's Action Center. John, let's talk about the integrations marketplace.
All right, thanks, Adam. Integrations Marketplace coming this week. A long time, a lot of work from the team, and I know they're all excited. Like Kristen said, they're here today and kind of a buzz. So Integration Marketplace. This is going to make it much easier for you to see which integrations are available to you and make sure you're leveraging them. So we think about things like sending data to your HRIS, right? We want to make that much easier and more convenient than it is today, and give incentive to your locations to do so. Again, everything's sort of connected. We want to make it easy for you to push that data. And when you push that data, you hit that hire button, you're sending information back to Indeed. You are dispositioning them. This job is active. There's things happening here. I like this candidate. Give me more candidates like this. So our integrations marketplace, but just to go a little bit deeper on this. So what is this? What is this going to provide beyond just the ability to kind of click in? It is going to allow, it is the beginning of deeper integrations between Hierology and the systems you want, the systems of record. So we've This system will be self-serviceable, so you'll be going to configure it. So just think about things like adding more data. How do I add more data so that when I push, I've created an evergreen job, I push all the time. I don't want to fill in the same 12, 20 fields. I want that data to automatically populate in my HRIS. Maybe you have your own unique departments. Now you can configure it once and can send it. And deeper integration is more than just the ability to send. It is the ability to configure those fields. So you're going to be able to do things like add HRIS fields right onto the job. So not just when you hit the hire button, you can fill it in at that moment. You're going to be able to apply it to the job. So as I said, evergreen jobs, that data will flow every time you hit the hire button and make it really easy for you. As we continue to work and we do more job requisitions, single forms, you'll be able to add the fields there as well. And the way this is configured is really thoughtful. So if you're maybe an ADP customer, think about things like dependent fields. I have to select my template and then the fields become available. All of that has been worked out, making sure that the dependent field is filled out before the child fields, sometimes renaming of fields, just a lot of configurability. So really recommend you reach out to your CSM if you're looking to send more data between our system and your HRIS. Okay, let's go next. Background checks. Okay, so having background checks right in the Hireology platform makes your lives much easier. Everything's in one place. You're doing this hiring. I want to see the status. I want to see what they are. And being on DocuSign's platform, Hireology's platform, just makes it easier. Now, the way we've done it makes your billing that much more convenient in that you can sign up for subscriptions. So you want to have consistent, you don't want the highs and lows of background check fees. You can sign up for subscriptions to make sure you have a consistent cost each quarter or month or however you do your billing. We are going to be expanding the type of background checks we provide. So what's coming next year are some new options, credit checks and abuse registries. So again, you can keep more of your hiring in one place and make sure you've got a smooth process all around. Candidate pipeline. I was thinking this as that screen was flipping between the old navigation and the new, how modern things have become. And when I think about the candidate pipeline, and I know my team is very excited because we're going to solve just a ton of problems that or make things a lot smoother in the application for you to move applicants through the system. Again, we're thinking a lot about making it easier for your locations and your managers to take the activities on platform to then disposition back to Indeed, ZipRecruiter. We send all this information back, but really it's about making your lives easier. Number one, I want to see all the information about candidates right up front. Like pull it forward for me. Does this person have, a cert? Do they have, what can I pull forward to make it really easy to see? Got a request to make that screenshot bigger. This is one screenshot in the midst of the flow. There is going to be stages, applied, shortlist, in progress, pre-hire, and hired. And sort of making it easier. You can still configure things the way you want, but making it easier for you to take the actions that you want to take in the stage that you're in. Like the calls to action are going to be much more clear for you. We're also going to be making things like interview scheduling a lot easier, taking bulk activity, seeing all documents in one place, not having to click around, seeing previous applications more simply, examining the documents more simply. Almost too much to talk about here. We are really making great progress on this for you. We'll have a controlled rollout for everyone, but just a ton here that you're going to be able to enjoy with the new candidate pipeline.
Yeah, and I think Todd's asking the right question of wanting a bigger screenshot, John, because there's so much in this. So Todd, we'll be sending the recording out after, but if you would like to get on the phone with our team, I'll just plug this again from a product backstage pass perspective, looking for feedback. But as John said, all of the features that we've rolled out kind of in this section is really just about how can we make your life easier? How can we get you to the decision-making that you need to do faster, run those background checks, really manage people through those integrations and pull the fields together. So lots of really exciting stuff to come. And so be on the lookout for this at the start of 2026 and more information. But the team's working really hard to just dig in about where we can help each of you. So let's move on. We've got some other things coming. This has been a labor of love this year as well. Adam, why don't you talk to us a little bit about job requisitions and approvals?
Yeah, thanks. So everyone on this call knows the job requisition and approval is nothing new, um, but it doesn't have to be as hard as it has always been for all of us to essentially configure our own process to what a monolithic provider may be giving us out of our payroll system. As you have 10, 50, 500 locations in your network. Every location works a little differently, right? You maybe you're acquiring a group and they do things one way, and the operating processes aren't going to be consistent for 6 to 12 months after the integration. Maybe you want to let certain divisions run their own approval processes. Maybe you don't want to have approvals at all at some locations. I can confidently tell you, after the last 12 months of work we've put into this part of our platform, which John will double click in the slide, Hierology has the most robust and configurable job requisition and approval engine in the market, bar none. What does that mean? It means no matter where you are at in your growth or what you're trying to achieve, we will meet you where you are. We'll meet you where you are. You've got locations with certain rules and others with others. You don't have to modify your necessarily complex processes to fit what the software is able to do. We have put the time and effort in the diligence, frankly, into making sure we have a fully configurable job rec and approval engine that works for you across your growing network. I may be the most excited person in the country about job requisitions and approvals, but I know how much work went into this and the kind of problems we're solving with this. So I would encourage you all to talk to your CSM about what is available to you now in this configuration engine for approvals. With custom job forms and approval workflows, you can make smarter, compliant, uh, budget accurate decisions faster, which is going to help you hire people without unnecessary delays or without surprises when headcount hits your financial system that you weren't planning on, right? All of these things matter in our markets. And so here's John to talk to you about one of the deeper dives we took this year.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, job requisition and approvals. You guys have a lot of requirements in this area, quite frankly, and a lot of differences in how you want to do things. And so Hierology is delivering on that to make it work for how you operate, quite frankly. So with job requisition, different from what we have today, which is just, job approvals, job requisition is going to allow you to say, I only want my submitters to submit these specific fields, maybe 5 or 6 fields, maybe an HRIS field included in there, right? And so think much smaller amount of fields that you can customize to say, this is what I want them, this is what I want them to submit to make life easier. A lot of you maybe are having people submit by email or whatever it might be, and it's off platform and it gets lost and it's not tracked. How long did it take you to get that open? You don't have no visibility into it. So we want to bring that on platform. We have things like user groups. So if you have a finance group or an HR group that needs to approve, you can do all of that. So what are some of the things that our system is going to enable? Some of you, maybe you have hourly versus exempt, different job rec forms. So maybe you just don't have one job rec form, maybe you have 2 or 5. And then maybe you have different approval workflows for those different job types. So maybe exempt goes to one set of persons and maybe hourly goes to another. Maybe you've got multi-locations. Some locations have a different approval workflow than another location, or a different job requisition. All of those things are the things that you can now do easily on Hierology in a way that's simple for the submitter and easy for the approvers and the publishers to get those jobs to be live. So tons here. If you need anything in the job opening space, please reach out. DocuSign onboarding. I am excited to talk about this one. In a past life, I was a former DocuSigner, and so we know a lot of the ins and outs of DocuSign, but we're going to solve some problems with DocuSign onboarding as an option for all of you. So what is DocuSign going to provide? We say streamlined and flexible. It's simple. I've got some documents and I need to get my applicants to fill in data. And what better mechanism to do that than DocuSign? We want to make it really easy for you to self-configure and send and collect data, and then be able to download those documents or whatever it may be, or for us to extract data. So we will populate the documents with data from the room and then ultimately extract data back out and help you send that along to your HRIS. Now, what's great about DocuSign, one, is the self-configurability. Number two, it's modern. It's great tech. So think about things like the experience that you are providing to your applicants. There's a trust, there's a brand there with DocuSign. And so it's mobile friendly, it's responsive. It's just a really great experience. So we've heard so much this year about we want deeper integrations and simpler integrations into our HRISs. And DocuSign is going to be a part of that, making it easy for you to collect the information you need to collect, extract, and get it into your system and into your HRISs ultimately. And you want it to be self-configurable, and Hierology is going to deliver with DocuSign.
This is awesome. Really excited about this one, John, and opens up more opportunities for the team between job recs and approvals, and now bringing a new and different onboarding experience into the platform. To close us out, Adam, I'll have you come back and join us to really talk about Hierology really cares about what outcomes you all are trying to achieve and how to make sure that you're measuring and improving those outcomes. And so we put a lot into our insights platform at Hierology this year. We're all super passionate about it, but I'll turn it over to Adam to let him talk about the improvements we've made, and there's some opportunities for you all to really take advantage of the investment we made here.
Yeah, and in a year of big things, this was one of the biggest. And so, I invite you, if you haven't dug into your Insights platform, and it's available to all of you. We re-architected our reporting platform and really turned it into an analytics engine. And it gives you the ability, the visibility and flexibility you need to spot trends, to hold locations and managers accountable and make smarter decisions, and to do so faster and to do it with confidence. And so, one of the first things, I always talk with customers about is what they're measuring and how they're managing it. And what we heard loud and clear, both from current customers and from prospective customers, taking a look at us, is we need to identify the gaps in recruiting operations. And the only way you can do that is with a system architected to do exactly that, based on action, not based on field clicks, but actual activity, and surfacing those insights in a way that can be managed right away. And so whether it's hiring velocity or sourcing performance or team activity, this view helps you understand what's working and where to improve, all in one place. Now, excuse me. Next slide. Yeah. One thing I want to make sure you have available in the Insights tool is that if you or your company leadership wants to stay on top of the most important trends in hiring in your organization without having to log into a system every day. I'm thinking of that C-suite wants to know how recruiting's going. They're not going to log into Hierology. How do you get them the info that they need without having to download and make Excels every day? We've addressed that for you. Scheduled reports in our Insights platform deliver key metrics straight to your or anyone's inbox at any schedule or notification threshold that you want. Quick alerts notify you when important numbers dip or are exceeded, so you can act quickly. So if you want to schedule reports that go out to a community of managers or properties on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, across some benchmarks that you're holding them accountable for, you can do that. You want one rolled up executive dashboard, you want delivered weekly, you can do that. We know company leadership needs more information. And because your business is so reliant on talent, we think there's no more critical insight than what you can get out of this system that you're using than this. And so These features also help keep the team engaged and informed. And so to help get you started, check out our hiring alert toolkit. And we've set up some recommended alerts, some tips and best practices for leveraging this very powerful system, which you will see greatly enhanced as we integrate and weave AI and automation into our Insights platform over the next couple of quarters. You can find the link in chat. Tara just posted it there to download this guide, or reach out after or talk to your CSM about best practices here. We are here to help you get started with setting up these proactive analytics. Before we finish, I do want to come back to this slide. Everything we've shared today, from attracting and sourcing candidates to onboarding, to job rec and approvals, to insights, is designed to help you fill roles faster and keep your vacancy costs low. That is our purpose. Give you time back in your day, fill roles quicker, and reduce that vacancy cost. Even a day of an unfilled position can add up quickly across the number of open headcount you have in organizations of your size. So these enhancements, while it's about making hiring easier, it's not just that. It is about protecting your bottom line and keeping your operations running smoothly. You're under more pressure than ever to deliver, and we're here to be your partner in that for the talent side of your business. Kristen, back to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Adam and John. And I left us about 15 minutes for questions. And so Adam and John, I'll actually have you both join me back on screen here. And we had a couple come through it that I just want to make sure are addressed. We did get a question in Insights, which is, I love getting questions about Insights that shows how many interviews were scheduled and or completed. And it sounds like Brett Perhofer, many of you probably know and love him as much as we do at Hireology, is letting you know where those are. Candace, those do live within the system. And if you have questions that are like Candace, be sure to talk to your CSM. They're there to help guide you through it as well. We also had a question earlier that I want to make sure we address. We're around Indeed, and just say this out loud. Is the smart employee matching based on disposition and Hireology work equally for free and sponsored ads? The answer is yes for both Indeed job types. So thanks, John, for jumping on that while we were going through it. Let me jump over then to Riley.
Christian, let me go a little deeper on that. So
for sure,
the first thing to know is Indeed and Hireology have a very tight integration and partnership. And so everything you can do with Indeed outside of Hireology, you can do it inside Hireology. It doesn't cost more. We don't charge for this. We're just trying to make your life easier and bringing that powerful technology inside your workflow with us. And so when John mentioned, when you take action, they send you more applicants. If you've worked in Indeed, Indeed's platform, they've got this notion of a responsive employer. And so what we've learned from our friends of Indeed is that responsive employer algorithm is among the most important signals they get to know where to route applicants. So to say what John said maybe a little differently, if you're taking action to quickly look at applicants in Hireology as they come in from Indeed, we let Indeed know that you looked. That's basically what it comes down to. We're shipping that back through our new API layer that we've integrated with them. And so if you're reviewing applicants, they're going to say, look, ABC Healthcare is someone we should send more applicants to, because we don't want applicants to send their applications into a black hole, right? So the more you do on platform to review applicants, it's a nice virtuous cycle. Not only are you going to have a better shot at hiring people because you're moving quicker, Indeed's going to say, hey, they're moving quick, let's send them more people. And so you get this nice flywheel effect there. And when we talk to our customers, not many are aware of this responsive employer algorithm. I know we did not have a full appreciation of how important it was to start the year, but we sure have it now, and that's why we've made this investment. So it is in your best interest to review your Indeed applicants if you want a better response and cost per click across the board. So, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're doing it to create a better candidate experience. So Great things there. Riley asked a great question about how do you customize your action center with the view that you had on your slide. Mine does not align. Riley, I'll have our support team or your CSM follow up with you just to make sure we set you up properly, because you want to make sure the action center is driving the actions that you want and helping you drive better hires faster in that capacity.
John, let me put you on the spot. Like configuring Action Center and the tiles, can you spend a minute on that?
Yeah, I think they should have all those tiles. Like, I don't think there's adding and removing tiles. So I'm wondering what was seen and what might have been missed. And so I think having the CSM follow up makes the most sense.
All right, I just want to make
It
sure
could
we
be a
give
permissions issue too.
Yeah, for sure. I wrote it
Great.
down, Riley, so we'll make sure to follow up with you along those lines. Brittany asked a question. Is my calendar supposed to automatically update when I set up an interview, or do I always have to click add to calendar and then download it and manually add to Outlook? John, I'll turn this to
We're gonna
you.
have to follow up, but I thought it automatically added it. I don't know off the top of my head, but I thought it did.
It should. Brett, if you're still on, so this is almost always a configuration error or opportunity with your email client to do it in an. Sometimes you got to give the system permission to add it automatically, and we can help you figure that out. But yes, it will automatically go to your calendar if that sync is set up. We'll get you squared away. Just make sure you reach out to your contact. Or just open a ticket. We'll get back to you in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you, Brittany. Adam and John, I'll open a question to you all that's a little bit, thinking about the end of this year and going into next year. For if you're a customer just getting started with these new tools or getting into the platform, where would you focus to see a quick win to make meaningful improvement at whether it be your store, your group, etc.?
Well, I'll go ahead, John.
There's so many ways. I mean, if I'm just starting on the platform, I'm going to look at things like time to review. I'm going to look at, using the action center, which jobs have low applicant flow, like not low applicant flow, but low time to review. Like that's one of the biggest, like you can get in front of them, actionable things you can do. Secondarily, I always like to think about making sure that I've got comprehensive sourcing. So I mentioned today QR codes. Like, are you taking advantage of all the channels that are available to you to get really good applicants? If you're in automotive, are you going to the tech shows? Bring the QR codes. They're really great ways right on site to get people to apply. Put a flyer up in your location, no matter what kind of location you're running. These are really great sources that we find are often underutilized. And so just thinking quick hitter from this, I would say, look into that. You'll get some really nice applicant flow from it.
Adam, how about yourself?
Yeah, I am all about nailing the foundation first. Let's get the basics nailed. So if you're a new customer with us, or even if you've been with us for a while and want to re-benchmark and go through that needs assessment again with us, you always want to look, always think of the mall map and the red tells you, the mall, the red dot, you are here. You always want to know where you are on an adoption or maturity curve in terms of recruiting. And so you'll read a lot about all the technology from us that's available to you to, unlock advanced analytics and do things. And that's all exciting. But what we find is a lot of times you've got a couple of locations or even a couple of hiring managers. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know that they're not, being quick. Just nailing down response times. I mean, if you can set a benchmark in your organization for your hiring managers for response time, I would do two things to start. Track my time to review an application, and it should be in 24 hours. You're reviewing apps within 24 hours, and you're getting them scheduled for interviews within 4 days from receiving an application, you're killing it. And what we know is employers that hit those two benchmarks outperform their peers and competitors in their local markets for hiring by as much as 40%. You just have to be faster. Recruiting is a selling process. It is not an administrative function. And so just moving candidates through the stages is not good enough. We have to run a funnel. We're reaching out quickly. We're building trust. We're moving them forward. We're getting to that lead before the next employer gets to that lead. We're showing that our management has competence because we run a great hiring process. That's where I would start. You can tell I get passionate about it. I mean, we just want to nail the basics. That's and everyone can always take a look at that. No matter, I know there's some folks on this call have been with us for 10 years, and we appreciate that. There's always time to go back and look at the basics, and that is response time and time to interview. Do those two things well, and all good things come from that.
100%. You both said two of the things that I would have said of how do you promote the job and then how do you create a good candidate experience. Those two things went out always. I've responded to a couple of the other questions we had about technicalities. Amy, I'm just seeing your question now. Hi, the calendar setup sync has never worked for me and my teams, especially when pushing my interviews to my team's calendar. The calendar sometimes recognizes that I'm busy when using the interview scheduler. This is what we just spent a lot of time working on. And so the upgrade to this feature actually is in preview right now to make this easier and to make sure these things aren't happening. So let's make sure that your CSM follows up with your team to make sure it's set up properly, or you can open a support ticket. But we should have, the latest evolution of interview scheduler should make this a lot easier and lead to none of those sync issues. We have just a couple minutes left, so I'm going to ask a big question to Adam and John to close us out. We started today by talking a little bit about the market shifts and AI's impact on jobs. What are the big trends you are most closely watching in your seats, and that Hierology in general is paying attention to? Adam, and you and I have been on the road a lot in the last 30 days. What are the big topics and what are the things you're thinking about? I'll start with you and then turn it to John.
Yeah, I'll say this again. There is going to be a bifurcation in employment in the United States between those with skills in the service sector and those with knowledge-based skills in the office, kind of knowledge work sector. I'm not someone who thinks knowledge work is going away. I think it's going to change. I think it's going to be choppy and it's going to change. I think over the next 2-3 years, those of us in the service business, in the skilled labor markets, have a generational opportunity to make the case for why our industries are fantastic economic opportunities and places to build careers. We have deprioritized vocational education in this country for the last 30 years. You are now seeing that revert in a very big way. You think at the highest level, parents and their kids are talking about the value of a college degree and employment stability, and anyone with a child trying to get in this workforce that coming out of a college program right now is having a heck of a time, and it's forcing a reevaluation of the value of a liberal arts degree, for example, or an engineering degree. And they still have value, don't get me wrong. But employment for life is the ability to deliver value through a skilled trade. That is employment for life. And our industries rely on that labor. And it is our opportunity to make the case that our industries are a great place to land and to build a career, where this is more than a paycheck. It's stability and a growth opportunity where you can get to work right away and do great. And I get really excited about telling students that this opportunity exists, and we could prove it, right? Show me the unemployment rate for electricians in this country. Show me the unemployment rate for certified auto technicians, right? It's low. If you want to work, you're working, is my point. But from healthcare to hospitality to automotive, construction, you name it, if you are doing skilled work with your hands, you're employed for your entire professional career. And that is not, it's only going to be more true in the coming years. And so take advantage of this opportunity to make that case to industry switchers, because right now it's going to be half your applicants. Just take advantage of it. This is a big opportunity. There. Thanks. That's my TED Talk.
I love it. Within that opportunity, John, what trend are you watching, or what are you most excited about going into 2026? I know I'm putting you on the spot, considering that your team's in office for 2 days, just really nailing our roadmap for the next 6 to 9 months. So,
Yeah. Well, Adam's making me think about a few things career-wise. I don't know. I'll
John,
say
you're
this.
good. You're good.
I will say this about these markets
Mhm.
and HR and hiring in general. I'm always keeping an eye on the competitors, what's coming, being thoughtful about the way we implement AI. AI is not getting rid of the profession of hiring people, right? Of your recruiters. It's going to make you more efficient. It's going to make you hire better talent. But when you look at costs for companies, so we talk about ROI of the profession that is, the hiring profession. There are 3 buckets. There's a cost of like interviewing and all that, of your HR recruiters. Then there's the cost of vacancy and the cost of turnover, right? So AI is about making your job better and to make those other 2 things really go down. When we look at cost, the cost is in turnover, the cost is in cost of vacancy. It's really not in your cost of recruiting. When we look at Hireology or ATSs in general, they're cheap compared to the problem you're solving, really. And so the job of AI is not to make all the hiring decisions, to make you more efficient and make you better at picking the people that are going to stay with your company and closing those positions more quickly. That is what AI is doing in the space of hiring. And so what are those sorting? I got 200 people. I don't want to sit around for an hour and a half sorting these people. I want AI to help me. Which ones have certs? Which one have the licenses I need? Let me get to them. It's about that speed and finding the right people. If AI is done well in this space, you're going to hire quicker, reducing your cost of vacancy, and better, reducing your cost of turnover. That's where you're going to save and make money, and that's where AI can help.
Awesome. That is great to end on. I think we're at a really awesome tipping point for the markets that Hireology has the great joy and distinction of serving. And really excited about not only what's been delivered this year to make your lives easier and unlock competitive advantage through recruiting and hiring, but what's to come in the coming months. I would not be doing my job well if I didn't say, hey, if you want to give us some feedback, please scan the QR code for a G2 review, or if you'd like to schedule a demo, do this as well. You can also reach out to any or all of us or your CSM. Hireology is so grateful that you spent our time with us today, and I really appreciate it. And we are only as good as the feedback you all provide us, so please don't stop from that perspective. And with that, John and Adam, I will say thank you. See you in the hallway, and thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.